Imagine how you would feel if you were always under the danger of bestial punishments and subjugation. Women have experienced unspeakable violence and persecution throughout history. Their suffering, which ranges from denial of fundamental rights to experiencing physical and psychological assault, is mostly a result of society's norms and power disparities. Can we reconcile women's perception as delicate flowers with the fact that they were actually thrown to lions? People, especially women, were subjected to animal-like treatment or interactions as part of the horrifying bestial punishments. These penalties were intended to humiliate, degrade, and cause the victims great bodily and mental pain. The idea that women were naturally lusty, wicked, or driven by animalistic inclinations was the foundation for bestial punishments. The first case belongs to the Code of Hammurabi in ancient Mesopotamia, a nation renowned for its intriguing legal system, which had its fair share of odd punishments. The punishment for women who were accused of adultery was peculiar among them. Imagine throwing the accuser and her lover into a river, like in a wildlife documentary. Perhaps they thought the river, with its ethereal currents, would reveal its inner Sherlock Holmes and skillfully discern the accused's guilt or innocence. It's not hard to see them humanizing the river by giving it a judge's robe, a gavel, and the authority to hand down a watery judgment. It is a classic instance of nature acting as a divine jury, as if the river were a sentient entity with exceptional judgment abilities. Such a technique might cause a few chuckles and raise eyebrows in today's society. Nevertheless, it is a remarkable illustration of the complex interplay between old beliefs and the legal system. How strange. The following instance is from ancient Rome, where it appears that women's riches and luxury were viewed as such a threat that they had to be restrained by the infamous ex opia rule. This rule, which was passed in 215 BCE during the chaos of the Second Punic War, sought to severely restrict women's ability to earn their own living. However, there's still more. The law was momentarily overturned when women had the bravery to resist this cruel legislation. What a shock! When Emperor Augustus took over, he felt it was time to renew this rule. So, cue the drum roll, because let's face it, who doesn't enjoy a good dose of gender inequality? In a lovely turn of events, ladies who disobeyed the revived Lex Oppia rule were punished to the highest degree possible by being led through the streets like animals. A good old-fashioned humiliation session with an animal theme. Nothing says justice like that. Just try to picture the scene. Women are being led on leashes, presumably holding signs that read "Property of the Patriarchy," while the audience laughs and mocks them. It resembles a weird fun fair where the treatment of women is the major draw. Let's go back even further to medieval Europe, when witch hunts were extremely popular. Women were the unfortunate contestants in this perverse version of Guess the Witch. These women were in for a special treat when they were accused of witchcraft, bestial penalties that would make even the most inventive sadist wince. Have a look at this horrible equipment. In this horrific display, several ladies found themselves in the spotlight. One of them was given the honor of receiving the infamous witch's bridle punishment. Imagine the accused woman being placed in a metal cage or bridle with sharp items attached. She was in agonizing pain, but conveniently, it also kept her from speaking or defending herself. What a wonderful approach to guaranteeing a fair trial, isn't it? It almost seems as though they thought that by making her into a human pincushion, justice would be automatically carried out. Similar to how rationality disappeared and never reappeared during the Salem witch trials. Imagine the opportunity for witchcraft suspects to display their Olympic-caliber swimming abilities. They were bound and thrown into the sea, where they had to rely on their buoyancy to establish their guilt or innocence. If you floated, kudos to you. You were going to a necktie party because you were guilty. Even if it meant a watery burial, at least you were innocent if you felt like a rock. When you can rely on the scientific tenets of sink or swim, who needs actual evidence? It reminds me of an underwater variation on The Price is Right. Come on down, ladies, and test your mettle to see whether you can survive drowning or a noose. Do you know that the inventive minds of history went one step further when they weren't content with their animal-themed penalties? Imagine women receiving public whippings while being confined like disobedient pets, imprisoned like exotic animals, or made to wear animal masks and costumes. It resembles a perverse zoo of shame. Along with causing physical suffering, these punishments were intended to dehumanize women by robbing them of their dignity and autonomy. They strengthened the idea that women are subhuman, dangerous, and ought to be under control. we may recognize the ridiculousness of such practices and work towards a future where women are treated with the respect and dignity they deserve by casting light on these dark chapters. It's encouraging to know that since then, society has advanced significantly and that these inhumane punishments have been consigned to history. Do you know any other such brutal or weird punishment that's still in existence? Women and girls have been subjected to a lifetime of oppression as a result of the extremely troubling practices of forced marriage and child marriage. These marriages deprive women and girls of their autonomy and force them to endure a variety of challenges. As a result of a lack of gender equality and respect for human rights, these practices, which have their origins in patriarchal norms and cultural traditions, have persisted in a number of countries all over the world. Women and girls are subjected to the practice of forced marriage, which occurs when they are pushed or pressured into marrying individuals against their will. This interference with human choice and agency violates their fundamental rights and frequently has repercussions that last a person's entire life. Countries on a variety of continents, including sections of Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America, are home to communities that practice forced marriage. Countries in South Asia, such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal, had significant incidents of forced marriages in their populations. This custom is perpetrated in part because of the pervasiveness of dowry systems, gender inequality, and the expectations of society. Even though there have been legislative measures made to prohibit forced marriages, social norms and a lack of enforcement have slowed progress. Another area where marriages were taken against a person's will is sub-Saharan Africa. Many African countries, including Niger, Chad, Mali, and Guinea, have high rates of child marriage. These high rates are frequently linked to poverty, poor access to education, and traditional cultural practices. Despite the fact that campaigns and legal reforms have been undertaken, difficulties still exist as a result of strongly ingrained societal norms. Instances of forced marriage can also be found in the Middle East and North Africa, particularly in nations that are racked by conflict and political unrest. Moving forward, the most deadly punishment was the practice of female genital mutilation, also known as FGM, is a reprehensible conduct that may involve the total or partial removal of the external female genitalia. Even though there is no support for it in any sacred writings, it is mostly practiced for cultural or what are thought to be religious reasons. In some parts of the world, the practice of FGM is firmly ingrained in culture and is commonly regarded as a strategy to manage female libido, protect chastity, and uphold cultural norms. On the other hand, this practice violates the human rights of girls and women and puts their health and well-being at jeopardy by inflicting severe physical and psychological consequences on them. The practice of female genital mutilation has severe and upsetting repercussions on a physical level. The surgery, which is normally carried out without the use of anesthesia, has the potential to cause significant discomfort, bleeding, and other acute consequences such as infections. The long-term repercussions include persistent pain issues peeing, menstruating, and having sexual relations, as well as complications after childbirth. The absence of appropriate medical procedures and sterile settings raises the danger of infections and further complications, which frequently results in ongoing agony and health problems throughout a person's lifetime. The effects of FGM on a person's body are devastating and can include severe bleeding infections, urinary problems, persistent discomfort, difficulties during childbirth, and even death. The psychological impact is also important, resulting in traumatic experiences, anxiety, sadness, and having a severe impact on one's overall mental health and well-being. The fight against female genital mutilation is fought using a combination of legal measures, community engagement, educational efforts, and awareness campaigns. Many nations have passed laws that prohibit FGM, but there is still a lot of work to be done to change deeply ingrained cultural practices and to ensure that the laws are enforced.